How do you overcome the anxiety of traveling? Well, that's a great question, and it's one I can really only answer by giving you my story. So, my traveling experiences really started back in 2014. I, before that, was hell-bent on never leaving America. I had no intentions of traveling, had no desire to travel, had no desire to go anywhere in the world for any reason. I was content in America. I thought I would always be content there. And during this period of time, I was in college. In order to get my degree, I had to select some foreign languages to take, and I chose Spanish. Foreign languages for me did not come easy at all, so I required tutoring. And in the tutoring lab of the community college that I started my college degree in, I met a few people, one in particular, who is still to this day one of my best friends, and that person encouraged me to take a study abroad trip with my Spanish class. And that study abroad trip was to Peru. Now, this was long before I had any interest in professional photography or videography or YouTube or anything like that. So I bought a little point and shoot camera, saved up about $4,000, and went on a study abroad trip to Peru for a month. I stayed with the host family and went to school 5 days a week and studied Spanish in Cuzco, Peru. I got to see things like Machu Picchu and the salt mines there in Peru, which are very famous. A little bit of Lima, Peru, and a few other places. And I have to tell you, when I came home, I was addicted. I was absolutely hooked on travel. But the anxiety of that first travel was completely overwhelming. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, sleep for me is a crucial part of my life. I had to leave Charlotte, North Carolina, take a 2-hour flight to Miami, a 5.5-hour flight to Lima, Peru, and then another hour flight, or hour and 15-minute flight, I can't remember exactly, into Cuzco. Now, Cuzco is a city that sits 11,100 feet above sea level. So at that height, oxygen starts to get a little bit shorter, and I was winded pretty much the whole time I was there. Some people don't have any problems with altitude. I am not one of those people. I think the largest height I made it to in Peru was almost 15,000 feet at one of the places we went. And if I had seen the bottled oxygen that they sold, I probably would have bought some. It was that bad. But nonetheless, just the fear of getting on that plane, knowing that I was getting ready to leave the country for the first time, caused me to lose sleep for about a week prior to that date. Now, mind you, I had only been on an airplane one time in my life before I made this international trip. And flying was nothing that I was interested in. Even though I loved aviation, I had no desires in any way to be on an airplane. And I saw my doctor, and of course, he gave me a little medicine to help me sleep on the flight, and a little something to help me relax. But I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake for about 32 hours in total. When I got to Cuzco and went into the bedroom of where I would be staying, walking in the door was the last thing I remember before I woke up about 5 hours later. And took a shower and, tried to get settled in a little bit. I was in a place that I was only in my second semester of Spanish, so I spoke very, very little Spanish, and everybody there spoke Spanish except the people that I was with and the students at the school who also spoke English, but everybody wanted you to speak Spanish. So very, very uncomfortable situation, completely unfamiliar surroundings, a culture that I had never experienced before because I had never been out of America. I was absolutely scared out of my mind. I was completely frightened to death. One of the most valuable takeaways I can give you from that experience is this. Once you become comfortable in an uncomfortable environment, you are no longer uncomfortable. That one may hit you about 3 hours from now. But basically what that means is once you place yourself in an uncomfortable situation long enough, you get comfortable in it. And that's literally what happened to me while I was in Peru, because after being there for a month, I was no longer anxious about getting in a cab. I was no longer anxious about negotiating prices for the cab. I was no longer anxious about going to school and doing the work. I wasn't so anxious about being taught strictly in Spanish with no English help. These were things that were super important and super stressful in the beginning, but I became comfortable with them. And that applies to anywhere you go and travel. You are going to experience what I've done in Southeast Asia thus far. I've been to Singapore. I've been to Taiwan, specifically Taipei. I've been obviously 9 months in the Philippines and working on, I think, the fourth month in Thailand. So, and I've experienced many different things, many different cultures, many different people. When you go to Taiwan, they speak Chinese. Obviously, I didn't speak any Chinese, but you would be surprised how willing the people are to help. There's a different currency there. Every time you go somewhere, there's going to be a different currency, a different language, a different dialect of a language. There are going to be different religious aspects to look at. There are going to be different cultural aspects to look at. You have to always remember that you are a guest in that country, and your Western passport does not entitle you to anything in any of these countries that you will visit. I did not understand that when I went to Peru, and it took me a while to figure it out when I got to the Philippines. So these are lessons that I have learned over time that I wanted to share with you guys. I wanted to inform you that overcoming the anxiety of travel is so huge, and it makes such a big difference in your life because there is so much to overcome. There's just so much to overcome. You literally are looking at an entire different realm of existence. You're looking at a completely different culture with completely different subsets of that culture. People are looking at you differently because in many areas of Southeast Asia, they're not familiar with Westerners. They're not really familiar with our culture and our values. And for the most part, we don't really line up together. For example, the United States, in the current condition it's in, does not really line up culturally or religiously or even economically with Thailand, because you're talking about a Buddhist country that's, I wouldn't say it's 100% conservative, but it's not a very liberal country. And if you go to the U.S. right now, you got a conservative/liberal clash in the U.S. Going on. So when traveling to these different countries, what I'm trying to tell you is the best solution to overcome anxiety and grow as a person. Now, I've always said the solution to anxiety is preparation. And preparation for going to these places is doing your homework. Listening to people that have the experience, that can tell you where you need to go, where to be, how much things are going to cost, what kind of food to eat, what to stay away from, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how to use mass transit systems, how to use public transit systems, how to use taxis or trikes or tuk-tuks or whatever the case may be. Getting your information before you go is really imperative, and it's invaluable. It's something all of us should do before we travel, whether it be a holiday, a vacation, stay to meet someone, or if you're planning to retire or move to another country to teach or work, doing your homework is the number one reliever of anxiety. Preparation is the solution for anxiety. So, what will all that do? It will make you grow as a person. It will force you to grow as a person. Traveling will force you to become a better human being in the end. That's really all there is to it. And that's all I got, guys. Feel free to leave your comments below, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments section. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.